am recording this really just for my purposes. This particular video is not going to go anywhere public. Okay, cool. Thank you for doing that, Andrea. Great. All right. Welcome, everyone. Mom, we're starting. Welcome, everyone, to this Foundations class. It is Mother's Day, and so today we are going to delve into a little bit more of this concept of the maternal and the paternal influence in all of us and in our bodies from a Katonah Yoga perspective. So I know many of you have practiced with me before. Some of you are new. Katonah Yoga is the kind of yoga that I teach. It is heavily based in a Hatha tradition, so it's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's slower, but we do hold poses. There's a lot of alignment. There's also Chinese medicine and Taoism and sacred geometry and all these cool things brought in. And I did do a blog post all about the practice this week. So if you're interested in reading more, learning more, I will direct you over there. But I do want to kind of dive into our little bit of theory for the day and then get moving. So from the Katonah perspective, and this mainly pulls from traditional Chinese medicine, but also, like I said, Taoism. We talked about this a little bit last week. There are different levels of our body. There are different sides of our body. We have the bottom floor, like our lower body. We have our middle body. We have this upper body, which is our head, our imagination. We have our left, we have our right, we have our center, we have our back, our middle, our front. And so when we play with the idea of maternal and paternal influence, or the feminine, the masculine influence, we are really looking at the left and the right sides of the body. And when I say maternal and paternal or masculine and feminine, this is not necessarily like a gender thing. Like everybody has masculine within them. Everybody has feminine within them. Even if you don't have a strong mother figure, you don't have a strong father figure, you have those figures and that energy in your life and in your body. And so from this Katonah perspective, the left side is the side more related to the maternal. It's also the side more connected to our feelings, our intuition. It's a little bit more personal. And if you think of it in a physical perspective, the left side is the side of the body where the heart resides. And as a society, most of us, not everyone I know, but most people are right-handed, and we really do live in a right-handed world. And so the right side of the body is the more masculine. It's the more paternal side. It is what we would say like the side of the world. It's where usually if we are shaking hands and making a deal, we're doing it with our right hand. When we're signing checks, when we're signing contracts, we're doing that with the right hand. And so left side, maternal, we can also call it feminine or the lunar side. That's another way that we explain, and that will link into some of our practice today. And then right side is more paternal, it's solar, it's the side of going out into the world. And the cool thing is that you are not like split in half. You're not like half maternal, half paternal. You are this beautiful being that pulls, and we can even use the idea of like a braid. You braid some of what you got from your mom, some of what you got from your dad, some of what you've gotten from the feminine influences, the lunar influences in your life, some of what you've gotten from the world, and you braid that together, and that's you. So you are, if we have lunar and solar, you are this stellar being that resides in the center, that moderates these different sides. And so with that, there's one other thing that I wanted to kind of share with this. So we can look at this as like the body as a whole. And if you come to class, if you come to the 4 o'clock class, we will dive into this a little bit more in the different areas that we call the different floors of the body. But the left side, that side of the lunar, if we look down and just go from bottom floor, middle floor, top floor. The legs, the left leg is really about stability. And you can think of that like the mother, like holding down the house, holding down the home. The right side is the leg of mobility, going out into the world, doing things out there. The left side of the middle part of the body, the second floor of the body, again, it's the heart, the hearth. It's our feelings on the left, and the right is where we kind of express those out. Yeah, cool. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna check real quick to see if we have anyone else in the waiting room. No, we do not. What we are going to do today is we are going to play with, we're gonna go over a few of the foundational poses, some that we did touch on last week, cats and cows, dogs. We're gonna do some lunging, and then we're going to kind of end the asana practice, the physical practice, with our moon salutations. So if you've been to a vinyasa class or a power yoga class, maybe you've done sun salutations, perhaps you even heard of a moon salutation before. It is a little bit calmer, a little bit more low to the ground. We stay with our knees dropped down in these salutations, but it's like a watery flow. And so we're gonna kind of build up to that in honor of this lunar maternal side of us, and also in honor of the full moon that we had this week, which was on Thursday for most of us. Any questions before we dive in? If there's questions on like the theory, like some of that theory stuff that I spit out, we can save that for the end. What I always recommend with this is hear it. Maybe some pieces land with you, maybe some pieces don't. We're gonna do the physical practice. Hopefully something else will make sense or land or resonate, and then we will have time at the end of this class to have more of a dialogue, a Q&A. But if there's any like just basic questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, we will get started. Very cool. Cool, and for my friends that are joining for the first time, I have an iPad up at the front of my mat. So if I'm looking towards that, I'm kind of checking in on you. And that's where it's nice to like keep on your camera if you're comfortable with it. Of course, if you're not comfortable with that, no worries, you can turn it off. But if I can see you, I can give more verbal adjustments that way, since I can't actually come over to you and adjust you. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna just make this a little bit bigger on my screen. Very cool. And I think I mentioned this, but maybe not while everyone was here. You don't really need any props today. If you do have a block, it's nice to have a block just because we use it as a measuring tool, but also at the end to sit up on it. If you don't have it, no worries. So the first thing we're gonna start in is our cat and our cow. So tabletop position. If you've gone to any yoga class, this might be familiar to you. We just do things not differently, but we tend to measure up a little bit more. And so if you do have a block, you'll want to grab that right now just so it's handy. And for our tabletop, again, this is a review of last week. Hands are underneath shoulders, knees are underneath hips. And you really want to set up a 90-degree angle here. And you can, if you have the computer screen where you can see yourself, you can kind of see that you're at a 90-degree angle. If you have a block or even a book, you can put it up against your thigh, you can put it up against your forearm. And the reason that we want to be at 90 degrees is because that puts us in joint space. And we are designed to move from joint space. So find your shoulders over your wrists, your knees right underneath your hips. And then the other measurement that we want to check out here is that our knees are hips width distance and that our hands are shoulder width distance. So for knees, you can just kind of look back and eyeball it. You don't want your knees out to the side like child's pose. You also don't want them like coming into touch. They are below your hips. And there is a more specific way to measure that, but we're not going to do it right now. And then for your shoulders, you can turn your hands in towards one another. So turn your fingers in towards one another. The middle finger should just brush, and that is your shoulder width distance. So we have all these nifty little measurements already designed within us so that we can find our own personal table. Good. And then we'll just start to take this into a cat and a cow. So from this really stable, steady place, you'll inhale, drop your belly, lift your heart, look up. As you exhale, you'll coil and round, press the floor away. Inhale, drop your belly, lift your heart, look up. And exhale, coil and round. And then if you do come to any of my classes or other Katonah classes, we often start to speed this up. So once you feel like you've got it down, you can really start to speed it up, letting the movement initiate from your pelvis. So you're undulating your pelvis forward and back, and that is then rippling through to your torso and to your head. And then if you do, you start to speed it up, you really start to fire yourself up. You start to agitate yourself. You start to create a fire within yourself, warming yourself from the inside out. Good, let's go for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in, pause, and deep breath out. Okay, we're gonna do just a little work for our wrists before we move into the next pose. So actually, let's cross the legs. So bring your left knee in towards the center of the mat, and your right leg is gonna swing around. This might be a little bit challenging for you. So you can adjust yourself, or you can, it doesn't have to look so graceful, but you want to snuggle that left knee in behind the right. And then the feet go wide. So if you think about it, if your feet are crossed behind you really close, that doesn't give you a strong, stable base. Like a tripod for a camera, you want to stretch those legs out so that you have that stable foundation. And then we're just going to turn the right palm around 180 degrees. Flipping the wrists is another way that we can get into the joint space. This time we're really getting into the wrist joint. We're also working that shoulder joint, but the focus here is on the wrist. So flip the wrist 180 degrees, the wrists line up, and then notice if you're doing like me and locking your elbows, put a little bend in the elbow. And then start to take circles around that right wrist. So circling around the right wrist. Again, if this is new for you or if you haven't done it in a while, it might be pretty intense. Let yourself breathe through the intensity. There's a difference between discomfort and, something being super painful or not serving to you. Of course, back off if you have any sharp shooting pain, but if it just feels a little sticky, if it feels a little, like I haven't gotten in there, go in there, clean out the cobwebs. Okay, go the other direction. So go counterclockwise, and then notice what is going on in that wrist. Are you dumping everything onto the thumb side of the wrist? Are you dumping it onto the pinky side of the wrist? Are you able to kind of move around that wrist, move in all directions pretty evenly? There's no wrong or right, it's just all good information. We want to be able to go everywhere that our body can go, because it gives us options. It makes us more powerful. Okay, come back through center. Flip that palm around. Don't shake it out. Just plug it right back in. And then walk your hands forward, just like a palm print, because we're going to take the second leg on top. So swing the left leg on top. And then adjust yourself. So you'll see I'm still lining up the knees underneath the hips so that my hips aren't so far back. They're right over my knees. And then the feet go wide. You might notice that it's more or less challenging on this side, all just good information. And then once you have your foundation, spread those feet wide, press the feet into the mat, and then flip the left palm around. Start to circle around this wrist. So we started with the right hand. Remember, that's the hand of the world. It's the more masculine hand. Maybe you feel on that side you have more muscle built up because it is the side that most of us write with or text with or, do all things with. So just notice. Maybe there's equal sensation on both sides. It's all just information. And then as you're circling around that wrist, imagine that you could spread your collarbones wide, because remember, we're not just working the wrist here, we're working the shoulders as well. How you doing back there, Mom? Okay. She's doing okay. How you guys doing? Good. Okay, let's switch directions. So go the opposite direction just for a little bit, making sure that we can go both directions. And again, I like to think of this, like sometimes I'll call it like flossing for the joints. If you haven't flossed in a while, it hurts. If you got plaque built up, but you know you got to get in there. Okay, come back through center, flip the palm around, don't shake it out, just plug it right back in. And then let's come back to our regular tabletop. And let's do one thing for the feet here before we move into our dog. Keep the toes tucked, come to sit back on the heels. This might be quite a bit for some of y'all. What we're doing here is we're opening up the front of the foot. So just like we were working in the wrist, we're doing a little work in the feet here. So if this is good for you, you can start to walk your fingertips back. Maybe, ooh, I just got a little crack there. You can lift up the knees and start to open up this top part of the foot. So another thing that you will hear me say a lot in these Katonah style classes is that the body follows a pattern. And just like when we open up the wrist, we open up the shoulder, it's all connected. And there are certain places that when we work there, we're also working somewhere else. And so when we open up this front arch of, well, I guess it's not really the arch, but I'm calling it an arch, this front piece of the foot, it also helps us open up this front piece of the hip, which is going to be helpful later when we come into some of our lunges. Okay, cool. One more little moment there. And these are all great things that you can do when you're watching TV or, you know, you don't have to go to a whole class to find some movement in your body. Come forward back into your tabletop, and we're going to step back into a plank pose to measure out for our dog. So plank is our measurement for our downward facing dog. So you can step back, find your shoulders over your wrists, fire your heels back, and then keeping your hands and your feet right where they are, send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. You'll see my heels are lifted and my knees are bent. My knees are bent. So lift your heels, bend your knees slightly, and then lift up and out of your armpit. So actively press the floor away. Imagine that someone were behind you and they were lifting your hips up and back. As you inhale, come forward to your plank pose. Just notice that measurement. So if this gets too much at any time, you can always drop your knees down, but do try and keep that long alignment of the spine. So forward to your plank and then go back to your dog. Bend the knees. Let the movement come from the hinge of the hips. So inhale, your pelvis comes forward, your heart comes forward into your plank, and then exhale, come back to your dog. Let's do one more. Inhale, come forward to your plank and back to your dog. Drop your knees. You can sit back on your heels. If you need a sip of water, you can take a sip of water. I'm going to demonstrate one thing, and then we'll do some lunging. So when we come from our dog, again, I just want to show this for anybody who's new, because that's kind of the point of these classes. A lot of yoga is taught like heels come down, and you really are stretching out the legs to get the heels down. That's great, but really it is just a stretch for the muscles. And what this practice is more concerned with is longevity. And that comes in the health of your joints and the health of your organs. And so when we move from joint space, when we're really setting up the pose from joint space and moving from that joint space, we are flushing out the joints. We're using them so that they can be good joints. And so in the dog, again, the heels are slightly lifted. You don't have to lift them all the way up. You can actually look back at your feet and you want almost like a wrinkle-free front of the foot. So you'll know you're hiking your heels up too high if you have a lot of wrinkles in the toes, and you'll know they're too low if you start to lock the legs. So lift the heels, bend the knees, and then my buttock bones reach up. So I have a nice long spine here, nice long back. I'm actively lifting up and out of my armpits, and my head is in line with my arms. And then from here, I'm really just folding and unfolding like I were doing origami with my body. I'm inhaling, coming forward to a plank, and then exhaling, coming back to a dog, just by folding and unfolding at the hips. So you can try that a few more times, but the next thing we're gonna move on to here is coming into a modified up dog, which I'll come from my plank, drop my hips, pull my heart between my arms. Notice I'm not dropping myself all the way down and kind of collapsing in my lower back. My feet are active. My heels are firing back. If you start to feel this in your lower back, just lift up a little higher. So you can go from your down dog to your plank, and you can try this now. and then down dog to your modified up dog. So this is what, if you ever come to my class and I say up dog, that's what I'm referring to, this modified tuck-toed upward facing dog. So try that a few times. Again, like when we did our flipped wrist, imagine broadening your collarbones. Keep looking out in front of you. Keep imagining that someone, or maybe you have a crazy bun like me, they were pulling you up just slightly so you're getting traction on the spine. Good. Okay, come down. Take a moment. Take a sip of water, take a break. So we are gonna move into, I just wanna do 1 or 2 lunges, and then like I said, we're gonna do a few moon salutations, and then we'll do pranayama and be done. So when we come into our lunges, I'll demonstrate this first, and then you can try it out. You're gonna set up for your dog. So each time you come back to your dog, you might wanna measure out to your plank to find that measurement. And then for your lunge, you'll lunge your right foot forward to your right thumb. Just say we're starting on the right side. Drop the back knee down, untuck the toes. So the important thing here is that my right ankle is right underneath my right knee. And again, that's putting me in joint space. If my foot is back here, I'm gonna overstress this joint. And if my foot is way out here, I'm gonna overstress the hip joint. And so when my foot is at that 90 degrees, it's right underneath the knee. I'm setting myself up to use that joint well. The other key here is you'll see my back foot. If you see my back foot here, it's not just kind of like hanging out there. It is strong and active. So I'm pressing through the top of that back foot, so much so that if I really wanted to, I could almost lift the back knee. Now, for anyone that has tight hip flexors, this might be a lot. This might start to be a lot. And so we'll just work here. So come back to your dog. Measure it out if you need to. And then you'll step your right foot forward to your right thumb. If you need to take a few steps to get it up to 90 degrees, that's no problem. Drop your back knee down, untuck your toes. And then first, look and see, well, actually, let's do the back foot first. Plug the top of that back foot in. You can actually look back and see what it's doing. See if it's sickling out or sickling in, and see if you can get that top of the foot where your shoelaces would be to plug down onto the mat. And then get your right knee right over your right ankle. And for this one, let's walk our hands out to 45 degrees. So walk your hands out 45 degrees. Your chest can rest on your thigh. And then start to look forward. Imagine that there were a clock around your pelvis and you're trying to get your right hip to stay at 3 o'clock and your left hip at 9 o'clock so that they're square. So you're not opening up the groin here, collapsing. Good, you can stay right here. If you'd like to, you can reach the arms forward and up for a lunge. We like to grab on for opposite elbows. In Katonah Yoga, you'll see this a lot. So you can grab for opposite elbows. The purpose here is to create contact, to keep currency flowing. And then maybe if, like me, you feel yourself sinking really deep into this pose, lift up a little more. And if you're someone who's way up here, try sinking down a little bit deeper. Eventually, you take out the bend in, like you take out the kink in the line, and there's a straight line from this front knee to the back knee. Good. Release your hands down, tuck your toes, lift the knee, and step it back, downward facing dog. Lunge your left foot forward to your left thumb, drop your back knee down, untuck the toes. If you need to, you can look back at that back foot, but try and use your imagination. Like likely you know if your foot is kind of sickling in or sickling out. Plug the top of that foot down. So equally between the pinky edge of the foot and the big toe of the foot, plug it all down. And then see that your left ankle is underneath your left knee. Another way to double check this is when you walk your hands out, this left knee will kind of fit right into your left armpit. Nice. And then you can stay right here. Once again, finding 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock with your hips. So just noticing if they're off to one side, squaring them off. If you like to, you can reach the arms up. taking this a little bit more active or lifted version of the lunge or of the lunge, maybe grabbing on for opposite elbows. And then noticing, are you someone who likes to sit really deep and you're kind of going for the sensation? If so, lift up. And if you're someone who's kind of really extra stiff and up here, see if you can let yourself relax, even if it is just an inch deeper. Taking another breath in here, and then exhale, release your hands down, step back to a dog. And then let's all come forward to a plank pose, shoulders over your wrists. And let's all do that modified upward facing dog. Drop your hips, even if it's just a few inches. Pull your heart between your arms. Imagine that someone were lifting you up through the crown of your head. And then drop your knees down, come to sit back into a child's pose. Take a moment here. You can let your knees go wide or they can come back together. So nice. Okay, come to sit up. And we're gonna take some of the things that we just worked with and go through, like I said, what we call a moon salutation or a water salutation. And I'm gonna walk through it. I'm gonna show you guys once, and then we're gonna do it together. So this pose, we're gonna start in a little seed pose. And if you can't stay for the 4 o'clock class, we're gonna do this again too. Normally what we do with these is we do like 10 minutes of them, or we do quite a few of them to get some of that energy moving in the body. We're just gonna break it down here, do 1 or 2 on each side, and then we're gonna do some breath work and meditation. But if you want more, stay for 4 o'clock. So we're gonna start in a little seed pose. So it's like a child's pose, but your knees will be together for this one. So just watch for this one, and then, like I said, we'll do it together. You'll start in this little seed. Your head rests down, your hands reach back for your heels. And then as you inhale, you'll reach up, and this is where it's like a lunar salutation. You can imagine you're drawing a full moon around you. And as you exhale, your hands will come forward. You'll reach forward, but keep the hips back just for this moment. Then you'll start to slide yourself forward so your belly comes between your arms, and you're gonna come into that modified upwards facing dog. So as soon as I came forward, I tucked my toes, and then you can lift your knees. And then you'll hinge your hips back, downward facing dog. Good. You'll inhale, you'll lunge your right foot forward, drop your back knee down. You can stay right here, or if you'd like to, you'll reach the arms up. And then exhale, hands come down. You'll tuck the toes and step the foot forward, forward fold front of your mat. Inhale, rise up. You can trace the moon around you if you'd like. And then exhale, you'll fold forward. Inhale, you'll look up. Same foot will step back. So right foot steps back. This time we're on the opposite leg. So the left leg is forward, lunge. Plant the hands down, step it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, you'll come forward and through to that modified upward facing dog. And then you'll drop your knees. You'll sit your hips back, child's pose, actually seed pose, knees together. And you're back where you began. So you go forward and then you come back, and it really just is a mirror on each side. We ready to try? Yes, no, maybe? Let's try it. Don't worry, we're gonna go slow and I'm gonna cue you through it. So let's go ahead and start in that little seed pose. Little seed pose, so knees together, hands come to your heels. And if you can like rest your head on the ground or rest your head on your knees. Try and get your knees to fit your eyeballs to fit your knees. And then press through the tops of your feet. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. Draw a moon around you. As you exhale, hands come down and then slide through onto your belly. This is always the most awkward part for me. So if it doesn't look beautiful, no worries, you can work on it. Tuck your toes, fire those heels back, modified up dog. And then send it back, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward to your right hand. Drop your back knee down. Untuck the toes. Reach the arms forward and up, or you could keep them down if you'd like. And then hands drop down, step it forward, forward fold, front of the mat. Inhale, rise on up, reach up. Hands come down, fold forward. Same foot steps back. So right foot steps back. Drop into your lunge. Drop the back knee down. Plug through that back foot. Either keep the arms down or reach them up for your lunge. Hands come down. Step it back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, ripple out like a wave to your plank, to your modified up dog. And then drop your knees and your seat back to your heels for your seed pose. Take a breath. We're going to do it on the second side. Inhale, come on up. Reach the arms out and up. Draw the moon. Exhale, hands come down and fold. Slither yourself forward. Try and keep those elbows in. Might not be beautiful. It's okay. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, and then downward facing dog, send it up and back. This time, step your left foot forward to your left thumb. Drop your back knee down. Reach the arms up or keep them down, up to you. And then hands come down, step forward, front of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, come on up, reach the arms up, and exhale to fold. Step the left foot back, low lunge, drop the back knee down. If you like, you can reach your arms up. Hands come down, step it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, ripple out long to your plank, drop your hips, modified upward facing dog. And then knees to the mat, seat to heels, seed pose. Let yourself rest. Give yourself a moment to just be. Now, whatever happened or didn't happen there, it's all good. Even though this is a foundations class, like I said, or like I have said, this isn't necessarily easy because likely it's different from what you normally do or a regular practice that you have, and that's okay. We do things in these ways to help change and evolve ourselves. All right, let's go ahead and come up to a seat. So this is where if you do have a block or a bolster or a blanket or a pillow, you can sit up on it. I'm sitting in hero's pose, so my knees are together. My feet are about a block's distance apart. So I have the block on this lowest, widest setting behind me. And then I'm also going to put a blanket underneath myself. It just gives a little bit more height. So set yourself up, let it be comfortable, but also formal. So just like we don't want to only be our maternal, our unconscious, our feeling side, we don't only want to be our paternal, our practical, our logical side. We don't only want to do what's comfortable. We want to be comfortable, but also be formal. So pull the flesh away from your sitting bones so that you can really be up on top of yourself. And from here, we're going to just do a few pranayama exercises. So pranayama translates to breath work. And so we're going to be manipulating the breath consciously. Now, if this is new for you or if it's a new technique for you, it can bring up a lot, whether that's feelings or you might be like, I can't do this. This is impossible. No worries. My only request is to stay here. Keep breathing, keep trying to do what we're doing if it's challenging, and then we'll have some time to debrief after. So go ahead and close your eyes just for a moment. And then let's make the hands into fists. So if you need to open your eyes and just peek at what I'm doing, that's totally cool. But you can also use your ears, your sense of listening to tune in. So make your hands into fists. And then like you are like riding a horse or you're bouncing on a pogo stick or I don't know, whatever else you can imagine, you're just gonna start to bounce a little. So bounce a little. So you're actively moving the arms, but your butt is also bouncing a little bit too. And what we're doing here is we are just stirring things up that maybe have settled. Maybe some heaviness, some dampness, some darkness. We're shaking it up. It's like we're opening up the windows of the basement and we're letting in some lights. You can start to add the breath here. It's just an in and out. And I like to breathe through the nose. The nose is the portal to your lungs. The mouth is the portal to your stomach. So if you breathe through your mouth, it's not a problem, but it's more effective to breathe through your nose. So in and out, just keep bouncing. And then notice if you're shifting more forward, if you're shifting more back, if you're sitting on one butt, and see if you can equally bounce on both of your butts. I know it sounds a little funny, but just keep going for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in, reach your arms up, hook your thumbs above your head, and then take in 3 more little sips, like you're sipping through a straw. Hold the breath full. Go down to your pelvic floor, engage it, squeeze up, and then imagine you're popping the cork to a champagne bottle. Exhale the breath out the crown of the head. Let the arms come down. Good. Keep the eyes closed. Just notice what effect that may have had on your body. Nice. All right, you can go ahead and open your eyes. This next one, so before we were kind of more working with the bottom half or bottom part of the body, now we're gonna work a little bit more in this, we call the second floor. And so you're gonna shake your hands, just move some energy, shake your hands. Again, you can open your eyes if you're not sure what's going on here, just take a peek, and then it's nice to close your eyes. So shake your hands out. Notice if this is hard for you to do, if it's hard for you to hold your arms up, if one hand it's easier to shake than the other. And there's not really a controlled breath here, but we are breathing into the hands. You can imagine breathing into the hands, and also the arms are extensions of the lungs. So anytime we move the arms, we hold them up, we are automatically working the lungs. Go ahead and drop the left hand and just shake the right. You can actually open your eyes and look to that hand, shake it in all different directions. So this right side, again, this is the side of the paternal, the more masculine, the more formal, the more schooled side. And then drop the right hand and shake the left. This is the side of the maternal. It is more unconscious. For most of us, it's a little bit stupider. And I don't mean that like our mothers are stupider. It's our unconscious side. So shake that hand out and then shake both hands. Maybe you get your head involved a little bit, just breathing it all out. Go for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands up. This time form cups. So your arms make a V. Your hands make cups. Take in 3 sips. Hold the breath full. Squeeze the pelvic floor in and up, and then imagine the exhale shooting out the crown of the head. Let the arms come down. Notice what may or may not have shifted. So we're going to stay right here in this seat. And for the next few moments, we are not going to physically move, but we're going to use our imagination and our breath to travel the body. So this is where we engage the mind a little bit more. All you have to do is listen and follow along. There's no one right way to do this. So the first technique that we're going to do is imagine as you inhale, fire rising up your back. So feeling effort rising up your back, that heat. And then as you exhale, imagine water or grace falling down your front. So that release, that letting go, that grace. Inhale, imagine fire rising up your back. Exhale, imagine grace falling down your front. Inhale, fire, effort rises up your back. Exhale as the cool waters fall down your front. Taking one more like that, breathing in up your back and breathing out down your front. So we're going to switch that direction, switch the wrap, and also switch up the metaphor, switch up what we're using in our imagination. So as you inhale up your front, imagine spring rising. So for most of us, it's spring right now. So some of that imagery of plants rising, flowers blooming, birds chirping. Hold the breath full at the crown of your head. Imagine summer ripening. As you exhale, fall descends down your back. So seeing the leaves turn and change, the leaves falling. And then hold empty for winter beneath you. So that quiet inhale, imagine spring rising up your front. Hold the breath full for summer ripening at the crown of your head. And then exhale, fall descends down your back. Hold empty for winter beneath you. One more time, inhale, spring rises up your front. Hold the breath full for summer ripening above you. Exhale, fall descends down your back, letting go. Exhale, hold empty for winter beneath you. We'll do one more breath technique here. This time we're going to use the metaphor of the rise of the sun and the setting of the sun. So as you inhale, you'll travel from your left shoulder, make an arc out in front of you to your right shoulder. Imagine the sun rising from east to west, west to east. And then exhale, imagine the sun setting, it being dark, night behind you. Make that arc behind you, traveling back around to your left shoulder. Inhale, the sun rises, the day is out in front of you. Exhale, the night's behind you, the sun sets. One more time, inhale out in front of you. And exhale behind you. And taking a moment, finding that center point of yourself. Maybe you see it as a channel running through you, connecting you to the ground beneath you, the sky above you. But know that you are not fire or water. You're not spring or summer. You're not male or female or all masculine, all feminine. You are the modulator, the mediator. You are capable of more than just one thing. Go ahead and open your eyes. So nice. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute us. If that was great for you and you're feeling swell and you got to go, you can go. But I will also make myself available for the next 10 minutes or so for questions. So let me just exit this full screen so I can see you all. And unmute. So feel free if you have questions to just talk, if you have something you want to share, or even just, share your experience, especially if this was your first time with a Katonah Yoga practice or maybe some of the pranayama. I am here to, just experience that, hear that, and answer any questions you might have.
Why no Shavasana?
Did you guys hear that? My mom had a question. She asked me before the class, and I was like, you have to wait till after because it's a good question. So the question is, why no Shavasana? In most Katonah yoga practices, we don't do a Shavasana. So in many other yoga practices, you'll end laying down, maybe your eyes are closed, you go into meditation. In this practice, Shavasana is a corpse, and we don't really see the benefit in practicing being a corpse. And most of us go home and do that when we go to sleep. Something that you maybe heard me say, like when we grabbed onto our elbows, is we like to make contact. We like to create fit so that currency continues to flow, even if that's just through the breath. So when we were doing those breathing techniques, it wasn't just like breathe here and breathe here. It was like a flow. It was a circle. It was a cycle. And so we really just don't see, not that we don't see the benefit in Shavasana, it's just there's a better use of your time when you're in a class, because anybody can go home. I mean, granted, you have to make the time and the space, but you can go home and lay on a yoga mat or lay on your floor. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes.
This is more of a technical question, but I want to attend your 4:00, but I can't because of my schedule. Is there any, are you going to record it? Could you share the recording later?
Yeah. So I'll
Okay.
share those classes I've been putting on YouTube as like my gift to the collective. So
Okay.
it will probably go up later. It'll be 4 to 5. I try and put it up today, but if not, it will be up tomorrow. So you're welcome to check that out.
Cool. Thank you. This was so cool. I am really excited to learn more about Katonah. I've been hearing a lot about it. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you were able to make it.
Yeah. It was so nice.
Cool. Any other questions? And it can be about something I said, or even like not, something not really connected to anything we talked about today, but that you have a question on this practice.
In the 4:00 class, are you going to do chair prop stuff? It seems like there's a lot more props, right?
Yeah. So I do want to maybe I'll do that this week. I want to do a little like video about talking about the different props. We are huge prop people in the Katonah practice, mainly because it helps. The props can be used for so much. Like they just help you create more formality and can be used if you don't necessarily have the range or the strength to hold yourself up or set yourself up in a pose. So we're big fans of the props. I don't really teach using the chair just because nobody has a chair for the most part. But if you want to come to a chair class, I can recommend one of my teachers who does a lot with the chair. And she does class every week. So if anyone
has to be a folding chair though, right?
Yeah, it's like you can use, I think that you can just use like a folding chair, but I have like a special yoga chair that has no back.
Oh,
so you can like put yourself through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share her info, and I have gotten requests for more restorative classes, which I'm trying to figure out how to work in, because not as many people, like I said, have the props. And really for that kind of class, you need at least 2 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Well, like I said, if anyone else has questions, you're welcome. I'm gonna hang for the next few minutes or so, but if you need to run, thank you so much for joining. Happy Mother's Day to our mamas and mama figures, because there's more than being just a physical mom in that. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. And if there's a question that you have after this or something that you'd like me to explore more in these classes, please feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or email me if something else pops up, or you're just like, I would really like to learn more about this or do a class with this. I am open.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So good to see you all. And I'll see some of you guys in the 4 o'clock. And if you weren't signed up for the 4 o'clock and you want to go sign up for it, you still can.